Welcome to the Hillsborian Historian. My name is Rex, and today we're looking at the history of the Stanley Falls Flume Ride, located in Busch Gardens, Tampa. Our story begins back in 1973 when plans for an expansion were announced. Here is a great architectural sketch of the ride. An amazing picture of the construction. So let's check it out. Look at some old footage of this thing. It's a little bit jumpy at first. You could see, I mean, right here at the end is where you get that big splash. It's a great shot of people going up. This is early 70s. This is probably soon after the Flume ride had opened. The Flume ride itself was built by Aerodynamics, and they had pioneered the Flume ride concept. This is a lot of fun, especially on a hot day in Florida. Now, as you can see, there's actually a couple of drops, but that big one is the one that everybody talks about. That is a 43-foot drop. And so for the early 1970s, it is a pretty impressive thing. Now, in the early days, one of the things that I was trying to figure out was I don't see the name Stanley Falls. I see it called the Busch Gardens Flume Ride or just the Flume Ride. It seems like by 1978, the term Stanley Falls Flume Ride becomes more into usage. So somewhere around then. Look at this deal. This is a pretty good deal right here. You could buy a lot from at McDonald's too back in the day for that amount of money. And these guys are having way too much fun. Throughout the decades, it's just an iconic part of Busch Gardens. Here's a map giving you an idea of where it was at. It was over in Stanleyville, obviously. We can see how the park grew in the 1970s. We have the Flume ride. We also have the Sky Ride, Mamba, and the Python coming into existence. But Stanley Falls always just kind of stood out. I mean, the Flume ride itself was, pretty iconic. Obviously, they kind of rebranded a little. They use different signage and stuff, but the ride itself is essentially the same over the years. Busch Gardens is transitioning over the years from just a brewery and the African Veldt to more of a roller coaster destination as well. So over the years, these huge roller coasters will begin to pop up. And in some ways, the appeal of Stanley Falls starts to diminish just a bit. Sometimes you have these empty lines and maybe an empty barrel going around. But to me, it was always a cool option to go to. I mean, I always thought, like, why not? It was announced, and at the time of this recording, it's closing today, that Stanley Falls Flume Ride would be closing for good. Kind of sad. But let's take one last ride on the Stanley Falls Flume Ride. Hopefully you're tall enough. We'll see. Alright, we're about to start, I think. You can tell it's got some age on it. It's pretty impressive, though, to watch this thing. And it just fits in with the Busch Gardens theme. It's the first drop. This one is really not that impressive. You know, it's just kind of a smaller one, as I recall.
Please sit upright. Hold on tight.
And you can tell you're up in the air, right? Like, this is pretty cool for the early 1970s.
Upright, hold on tight.
Here we come around, and here's this drop. Not that amazing compared to the last one that is going to be on this ride, but still pretty cool. Look at all these huge rides around it. Like, you can tell the park is just evolving into these larger and larger roller coasters. And then we're going under what's, you know, where that big drop would be right there. The curves are so cool. And that's what I kind of remember is the water splashing around and all that. Now, if you sat in the back, as I recall, you didn't get very wet at all. But if you sat in the front, you get somewhat wet. I always sat in the back. Like, I didn't want to get wet. If you're ever in Florida and it's hot, it sounds like a good idea to just get wet. But then you're hot and you're wet, and then it's muggy, and then, you know. But some people do it. They like it. So as I said, this was built by Aerodynamics, and they were pioneers. There's still some of these aerodynamics rides around. Here's the big drop right here, boom. And here comes the big splash as the water just kind of gets pushed over. Pretty cool stuff. I mean, this is, you know, sadly the end of an era. I do want to thank you for taking one last splash down Stanley Falls Flume Ride with me. As for what is going to replace it, look, I don't know, but I got a feeling it's going to be big, and I got a feeling it's going to be roller coastery. Hey, thanks for watching. Please share. Until next time, take care of yourselves out there.